Hey y'all, so are you in a space today where you have just decided that you can't trust yourself and you can't trust anybody around you? And maybe it's because you were in toxic relationships or you feel like you've been treated poorly by your familial system that makes you feel like perhaps you can't trust the people around you. And because you have put yourself in some of these spaces by trusting the people around you, that you in fact can't be trusted either. Well, we've all been in that situation. Like, there are times where inside of my toxic relationship, I was like, how in the world did I get here? Like, this makes no sense for me to know what I know, but also still be in this situation. However, inside of those spaces, that person brought their representative. They brought all of the lies that they knew that I would believe. They brought all of the facades that they knew they needed to create to in order to get into close proximity to me, and they continued those lies until they could no longer facilitate continuing the lies. And then once I found out the truth, then I was able to get myself out of the situations. So if that happened to you in a toxic relationship, you cannot be blamed for believing what somebody told you to be true, because the reality is that when people tell you something, they should be honest and they should be telling you the truth about who they are. But quite literally, people who are trying to come and annihilate your lives are not going to tell you the truth, because they can't, of course, say, oh, by the way, I'm narcissistic and I'm going to gaslight you and verbally abuse you and make you feel like you're the scum of the earth. They're not going to tell you that because you're not going to let them in that way. So they did lie to you. It is not your fault that it happened, but it is your responsibility to do something about it after you've noticed that it is the truth. And that something about it is no longer continuing to disassociate yourself from the version of you in the past and the version of you now, because what you're doing right now is saying, she was at fault for these things that happened. I can't trust her. And so moving forward, I'm not going to listen to anything she says because she's not trustworthy. But she is you. And you know you so well that you know that even if you've made poor choices in the past, it doesn't mean that you can't trust your choices in the future. It might mean that you need to take a more aerial view. It might mean that you need to take more inventory of the situation that's happening, but it doesn't mean that you can't trust yourself. But yet, at the end of those situations, we find ourselves sitting in a mess, and we place the spotlight on our inabilities to know what was happening to us and to really read through those lies and really see the person. That's a really difficult thing to do, especially when the first people that you weren't able to trust were the people who were supposed to take the best care of you. So if you had tumultuous relationships with parental figures or guardians or siblings or people who were really close to you in childhood, and you found out later that you couldn't trust them, or maybe they were taking their role and executing it in such a way that they were able to manipulate you because of the power that they had over you, you're going to assume that all relationships come with a form of dishonesty and distrust, and that includes the relationship with you. It's not true, but it's understandable that you would be in a space where you're like, I can't trust me. I can't trust other people. I don't trust anybody. In fact, I don't even trust God to do what he says he's going to do because I've been let down so many times. It is okay to have those feelings. God understands when you don't trust him. It is not okay to stay there. So we really need to focus on, how was my trust broken in the first place? Was it because of me, or was it because of the lies that were told to me? Did I experience so much betrayal that I have not known a relationship where honesty was at the root of it? Have I been so emotionally manipulated that I don't know how to trust other people and I don't know how to trust me? And when you take inventory of that situation and you roll back to why you believed the lies that you were told, what were the lies that you were told anyway? What manipulation did you experience? What you'll find is a person who wanted to see the good in people and just didn't have a strategy for assessing whether that good was a reality. Doesn't mean that you have a person who just makes poor choices, can't pick the right people to be in her circle, doesn't know how to assess people and understand who people really are at the core of their being. Maybe you didn't see it then, but now you have more wisdom because you've experienced those relationships where people haven't been trustworthy. And one of the things that you can do to save yourself from not being able to trust you is to rebuild your trust in you. And it seems like such a simple task, but it is so complex when you've spent decades of your life having to, one, abandon yourself to make other people happy. So you don't even really know yourself in those intimate places like you should. And two, you've been manipulated to make all of these choices, and so now you don't think that you can make a good choice about anything. That's why when you come to the end of a toxic relationship, you don't even know what food you like. You stop choosing the food, you stop choosing the paint colors for the walls, you stop choosing where you're going to spend your finances, you stop choosing what kids you're going to allow your kid to go on play dates with, because you're just so burdened by the fact that every choice that you've made has ended up in this poor situation that you feel like is you betraying yourself. But you abandon yourself to be in this relationship. You abandon your own intuition to be in the space that you're in. It doesn't mean that you're incapable of making choices. It means that you need to come back to home, come back to that safe space, and be able to trust the you that you know you are inside of there. So some things that you can do to build back up your instincts, to make those empowered decisions, and to just rebuild your confidence in making choices are allowing yourself to make small choices so that you learn how to trust yourself along the way. So you say things like, okay, today I'm going to go get takeout and I'm going to choose the place. And you don't put strings attached to it. So if the food is trash, it's not your fault if the food was trash. Like if you wanted Mexican, Mexican sounded like a good choice. It was a good choice, even if the tacos don't taste really good. But trust yourself to make that choice. And then maybe tomorrow you trust yourself to go on a walk, or you make decisions that going on a walk will be really good for moving your body. And you have to be very self-aware and you have to be very observant of your choices. I made a choice to sleep in. I feel really good that I got those extra hours of sleep. I made a choice to wake up at 5 a.m. and do a workout. I feel really good about myself after doing this workout. I made the choice to not let my kids go do this thing, and I trusted my instinct on that. And though I don't know what would have happened if I would have let them go, I still feel really good about that decision because I don't think that it was a good one for them to be in that space. Once you start to be able to trust your instincts and your empowered decisions, you will start to fully trust you because you will have a timeline with data that shows you that this person, you, are actually trustworthy, that you can make good decisions, that you can pick good friendships, that you can be a good parent. And it's not relying on the feeling of needing to be perfect, but it's relying on the feeling that I'm going to make this choice. This choice feels like a good choice right now. And whatever happens as an end result of that choice, it's not going to be the end of the world if it doesn't work out perfectly. I'm going to be okay with the fact that I'm not going to make that decision again. And therefore, that is a choice. It's a choice to not choose that again. Once you start to be able to rely on yourself to make those decisions, you will also start to lean on your instincts again. This place doesn't feel safe. I'm not going to go in there. This group of people doesn't feel safe. They feel like they're being gossipy. I'm not going to participate in these conversations. You'll start to feel that thing well up in your gut again to tell you this isn't for you. And once you've made the decisions, once you've started to trust your instincts again, that's when you'll start building up the confidence to be able to make the decision without doing all of that rumination and overthinking. Because we do that because we don't trust ourselves. But once you get to a place where you can again, then you're able to make decisions like this again because that's what your timeline has told you. This person can make good choices and she can do it consistently. And I know, again, that seems like such a simple thing, but it's so complex when you're in a space where you don't feel like you can trust you to do the things that you used to do before. But when you start to select things and take inventory of what you're selecting, today I did my eye makeup differently. I didn't know if I was going to love it or hate it, but I made the choice to do it and it was decent. So I was like, cool, I might do that again. That's a choice. It doesn't feel like a big choice, but it's a choice that I know I can rely on. So now I have inventory that if I change my makeup tomorrow, that I can trust that it's probably going to be a decent choice and I'm okay with that. Sometimes I pick recipes that don't turn out really well. But then I also know, when I make this again, I'll probably do this, this, and this different. Because when you have been in those spaces, you don't trust yourself to even make the smallest of choices. Even trust yourself on what to wear that day because you've been criticized for what you wear and the intention behind what you wear. You pick that dress because you want somebody to look at you. You picked that outfit and now you're going to embarrass me in public. All of those things happen when you're in toxic relationships. But now you don't have the weight of that person's perspective of you on your shoulders. And you can say, I'm picking this outfit because I like the dress. Whatever attention it draws is not on me. I like the dress. I'm going to pick these clothes because I'm just running to the grocery store and I don't really care if I'm in yoga pants and a sweatshirt because I'm just running out and running back in, and that is okay with me, and you're able to make those decisions. Once you develop and rebuild your trust in yourself, you can use the same strategy to rebuild your trust in others. You can establish those trusts in old relationships that you know are still good for you. And you can establish those trusts in new relationships with people that you know are for you and going into your next with you. And the way that you do that is by being patient, giving them grace, communicating your wants and needs with them, and giving trust gradually. And that's exactly what you've learned to do with yourself when you're rebuilding the trust with yourself. And now you just need to take it to the next level with other people. Don't trust somebody just because they exist. That has not served you well in the past. But what you can do is develop and build a gradual trust. Pay attention to and take inventory if people call you when they say they're going to call, if they show up when they say they're going to show up, if they aren't prompt, if they have, an explanation that is apologetic, like take inventory of those things. If you're in trouble, does that person come to help you? Do they do the things for you that you would do for them? And when you're able to see the timeline of those things, and it takes a minute, you can't just trust somebody because they walked up on the scene. You have to develop that trust over time. And once you start to see the consistency of their behaviors, that's when you can fully trust someone. It doesn't mean they're not going to disappoint you. It doesn't mean that they're probably not going to hurt you somewhere in there, but it means that you can communicate that pain. You can communicate the disappointment, and that person loves you enough to not do it again, not gaslight you into thinking that something is wrong with you. You are capable of healthy relationships with yourself, healthy relationships with the people that you want to be in relationship with. But if you don't have an emotional connection, if you're not allowing for intimacy, then you're not giving yourself access to long-term relationships that are successful. So yes, take the time. Yes, let it be a gradual release, but also allow yourself to be intimate with people and understand that even if a relationship doesn't work out, even if a friendship doesn't sustain years and years of friendship, that it still is a learning experience for you, and that you can trust yourself to learn those lessons so that when you move into the next phase of your life, you're taking those lessons with you to share as a testimony, but also to use as data for you to make your decisions in the future. Your decisions in your past, your trauma in your past is not a life sentence to not being able to trust you. You are trustworthy. Trust who God says you are. Trust Him to know exactly what is for you, and give yourself the space to be able to tell yourself that no matter what you've done in the past, that your future is relying solely on your healthy relationship with you, and that you can trust her to make good choices. Thank you guys for tuning in. Remember to look me up on all social media sites, like and subscribe to my pages. And if this video resonated with you, or even if it didn't, Share it with the people who you know that it will be the catalyst to break them free from the bondage that they're experiencing, because knowledge gained and kept to yourself is selfish, but shared with the world, it could just be the one phrase, one sentence, or one word that they need to make some changes so that they can live a life of freedom for their future. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you again next time.